And welcome back again, yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. And this is Keeping It Honest, the late night version. So, welcome aboard. Good evening to you. And if you've watched our show, viewed it a couple of times, you know we do a Keep It Honest in the daytime. So, past couple of times I decided to let's do a little late night. Let's do something a little bit informal, a little bit more relaxing. Got my tea. So maybe you have something too. But let's sit back and enjoy the show. So this episode, we've got so much news to talk about. We're doing a show later in the daytime, but I've got so much stories that have happened. I have said to myself, so let me go to the people that have watched the show, watched it in replay, the ones who have supported yours truly. And I'm going to give you a list of stories that I'm working on for the next episode. And you get to pick and choose which ones are popular to you. And then I'll do that story. We got a lot. I'm going to keep it real, keep it honest, and keep it simple. So this show, we try to talk about anything and everything: entertainment, politics, humanity stories, and whether you're Democrat, Republican, third party, green party, red party, black party, just like going to parties, we put it out there for you. And we let you decide. But all we're going to try to do for you is give you the information with some commentary mixed in, but not the commentary overdoing the story. And also in the show, sometimes I will give you other people's commentaries, other people's takes on issues. So to open up your eyes, and I tell people we are kind of like the Cliff Notes. You look at our show, and then you go back and say, wow, maybe I agreed in some of that, maybe I didn't, and read up on it. And that's what we're about. Little background on me. Been in broadcasting for a couple years, a couple decades. Did radio, print, and some TV. And now I'm on the streaming platform. Politically, I'm very active. I ran for Congress, and we'll talk about that because I see from running for Congress, you see how the political world is. Do they care about you? But I tell people, if people aren't making a difference in your life, then you be that difference person. You be that person to shine. You be that person to say, you know what? If they can't do it, then I'm going to do it. We try to give you inspirational sayings. We try to give you the question that makes you go, So think about this. In the past, so far for this year, what has been the one influential thing that has got you to the point that you are at now? And because of that, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Again, give me one thing so far this year that has gotten you to a point where you're at. Has that been a good thing or a bad thing? And either way, can you change it or do you not want to change it? Something to think about. So before we go into the show, one of my favorite shows, TV shows, is a Blacklist. Great show. I was looking for the hat. Show been on 10 years and it's ending after 10 years. Very consistent show. I don't know if you like that show, but that's one of my favorite ones. And also Picard. If you remember, I talked a little bit about Picard, bald-headed man like yours truly. He's sitting in a chair. And I was talking to somebody today, and we were talking about Picard, the show. And if you're a Trekkie, then you'll understand Picard was a captain of the next generation. He was kind of old then. So he's really old now. He's 80, but he's playing 94 in this show. So the first couple episodes, because I was bored, I said, okay, well, let me see what the show's about. First couple episodes, I needed something to drink to keep me going. Because I'm watching a 94-year-old man. And after the 2 episodes, it really became a great series. It's been on for 3 years, and if you have a chance to watch it, then you know, take a peek at it. Some other shows are Chicago PD, Fire, and Med, and also the FBI shows. So those are my shows, and I said I brought this up because let me know what some of your stuff is. You can text me 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718, and let me know about topics you'd like to see on the show, guests you'd like to see on the show, and you know, support yours truly. We're kind of like a small business. We're kind of starting out and everything, and while we're starting out, we thank you for supporting us. Because guys, if it wasn't for you, we would not be here. And I'm over here operating everything as I'm talking to you now. So it's kind of like I am on the enterprise. But I thank you again for supporting yours truly. So some of the topics we're going to talk about, we're going to go through these real quick and then we're going to go back. But some of these we're going to talk about on another show. But I'm letting you pick. Right now, the writers and acting strike is going on. What do you think about that? Do you care? Aretha Franklin. She's not getting any respect. We're going to talk about that. Somebody who you feel really doesn't get any respect, Clarence Thomas. And we're going to talk about why he's getting even less now. Keke Palmer. Fantastic entertainer. Don't know if she's the best dresser, though. Took a little flack. Also in the news politically was this whistleblower who talked about the Biden administration and how there is a one-eyed spy. We're going to do a quirky investigative story on that. I know it's funny, and speaking of laughing, Kamala. Should we get rid of her? Maybe get rid of that laugh. Vivek, man, he's a cool guy. He's running for president, billionaire. You'd think he'd get a lot of respect, but not when he's on certain radio shows. AOL or AOC, Congresswoman, please. Nikki Haley, again, please. The cocaine bear. Now, people are wondering, where did this cocaine get found in the White House? Maybe it was a bear. Manson, one of the Manson people. If you don't know about that story, we'll talk about it. They're out of jail. Larry Nassar. He was injured in jail. Speaking of, do we care? This is one thing. A lot of people have ever been stopped by the cops. You ever had your Miranda rights? If you haven't, then that's illegal. And also, if you haven't, that means you've never been stopped by the cops. Speaking of stop, that school, man, what can we say? How many people were disappointed with the student loan until they heard it might be revised? Speaking of something that was revised, reparations. We talk about this. Everybody talks about this. Well, there's a city that's doing something. And there's other stories coming up that we're going to talk about a little bit. The Oprah story. Don't know if you heard about that. And somebody was talking about UFOs, which I'm very fascinated about. Let me know if that's something that fascinates you too. Do you believe in UFOs? And is the government keeping everything a secret? So, speaking of secret, let's not try to keep this show a secret. Keeping it honest with yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. Hit the like and share button and subscribe and let people know about this show. Let them know that this is one that we try to give you things with a Parker twist. I thank you for supporting the show. So now, let's break it down and see what stories you want to pick for our next show. So let's start off with the writer's strike. Recently, the writers and the actors went on strike, and they want more money. And the interesting thing is, you think, okay, wow, they're writers, they're actors, they should get a lot of money. But it's interesting because they said when you look at a Tom Cruise or Harrison Ford, all these other big time actors, that they're only in the top 10. So 90% of the actors aren't making that top 10 money. And so they decided to strike. And Disney pretty much said, well, you know what? They shouldn't give you more money. So how does this affect us? We watch TV. Well, it means that there's going to be more rerun shows that are coming on, like the Chicago shows. They won't be coming on in time now because not only are there no writers, but there's no actors. And they're union. And I asked somebody, if you had an opportunity, let's say you want to be a nurse or a teacher, and you can't get your foot in the door, when people go on strike and they can't find anybody, but the opportunity might be there for you because they can't find anybody, would you walk across that picket line just so you could have a chance to have a job? Is that an opportunity? I think back in the 1980s, something like that, there was the NFL and they went on strike. And so they got anybody off the street to cross the picket line who had an opportunity to play. And of course, they were, alienated and everything, but they did get an opportunity to play. So you have to think, people are striking for more money, but then people also want an opportunity to make some money. So if you had that opportunity, would you be a strike breaker? So anyway, about the strike too, a lot of people don't also know that AI is so much involved in this that the writers are saying that the studios can talk to AI and have them write scripts for these characters, which is taking the money away from the writers. And then also for the actors, they said that they could do a scene, be in the background, and AI can recreate that scene for other movies or TV shows. And there's one actress who's from Cleveland. Her name is Nicole. She was in the Community show. Um, she had mentioned, which I thought was very interesting. She said people, to help the writers and to help the actors, should boycott any streaming apps. And you look at this now because television has gone down as far as TV viewers watching. Everything is on streaming. In solidarity and support, would you be able to give up streaming for one day to support the actors and the writers? I don't think people could. Something to think about because a lot of people who are in mainstream media are going to streaming. Hence, yours truly right here. So that's the story. And you are watching Keeping It Honest with Anthony Parker Alexander, and you pick the news. Aretha Franklin estate. She is not getting any RESPECT, and that is not what it means to her. She's been dead a couple years, and like a lot of families, she's had some interesting kind of wills, and family members are fighting about it. But in the long run, she is not getting any RESPECT. Families are hard when it comes to money, when it comes to death in the family. People always clamor. When it comes to wills, let me know if you have, family member that may have passed away and you were fighting for the integrity of that person. Speaking of integrity, in some people's eyes, this person does not have any integrity. Clarence Thomas. Wow. One of the most hated and vilified people on the Supreme Court. And ironically, he is the longest member on the Supreme Court. We are going to talk on the next show a scathing, you can't miss this, report of Clarence Thomas. We're going to try to find some good stuff out of it, but with Clarence Thomas, if you look at his pictures, he just looks like he's mad. So why not do a mad story? A story that's not mad, but maybe got the boyfriend mad, was Keke Palmer. I remember when she was young, starting out with Akilah and the Bee, and then she did some talk shows. She's got a great singing voice. She's like the female Wayne Brady. But this event that came up, she went involving Usher and his outfit, and her boyfriend got ticked off. If you were in his position, would you be upset if your woman went out like that? Is that disrespecting you? But then how he got with her and responded was very disrespectful. We may be talking about that if you're interested. Some people interested in this politically. There's this guy now, whistleblower. He's been on the news. He made a video saying that the United States is trying to arrest him, but it's dealing with the Bidens and how he is saying that Joe Biden and his son got a lot of money as far as when President Biden, was vice president, and also when he was out of office. And he told a story, which is a very incredible story, but he said the connections is this one-eyed person. And my thing is, or one-eyed spy, and my thing is, you know what? We're going to investigate who this one-eyed spy might be. It's going to interest you in a Parker twist. Another scathing story. Camilla. Don't let me start laughing like she laughs. Let's get rid of her. Maybe this is me saying this. Maybe it's somebody else. But we're going to talk about, if you get rid of her, where she could possibly be. Let me know if you want that story. Vivek, the guy, he's running for president of the United States. He has a podcast. He can answer and rebuttal literally anything. He's very smooth. He's 37 years old, but he only started voting 2 years ago. What took him so long? Was he a community leader? What makes a billionaire guy who founded his own company that has been able to get cures on some diseases in his company? What makes him, who he didn't have anything going in school, jump from that to running for president, to being on the Breakfast Club and being asked tough questions and being able to stand or sit and take it? We'll talk about that too, if you want. But I kind of want to. One of my favorite politicians, when she first came out, was AOC. She started out, she was a waitress. She ran for office, got in office, said she was progressive. She was going to fight for people, fought for Bernie Sanders, and is in office maybe with the trajectory of sometime running for a higher position, which I think. But her latest things that she's been saying has ticked me off. Speaking of ticked off, Nikki Haley, governor of South Carolina. I thought a couple years ago she would be a great president. Stood by Trump 1 minute, walked away 1 minute, stood by Trump 1 minute. She's running for president again. What are her chances of winning, and what is she trying to do? Is she really trying to win to get in the White House? Speaking of White House, that cocaine that was found in the White House, and nobody has any idea where this cocaine came from. Really? So we're going to let that just slip away. We're going to let this powder just blow away. It is interesting how many people think that this cocaine is either Joe Biden's or his son. What do you think? It's an interesting story because you don't think that they didn't have any cameras anywhere around because they're saying that where this cocaine was at, only specific people could get to it. Who drops cocaine? And if you don't find this, does that mean that besides this being embarrassment in the White House, that there may be people in the White House using cocaine? Let's say it's not just one person. Let's say that one person is doing it, and people may know he's doing it. Secret Service says they can't find anything. You think Secret Service will say, hey, you know what? This person is a cocaine user. So to kind of skirt it and say they couldn't find anything, really, you've had other things happen in the White House. You had Bill Clinton happen in the White House. I did not have sexual relations with that girl. You've had other things happen in the White House. You've had papers being taken out the White House and found out that they were taken. But you don't have any cameras anywhere that you can see where that cocaine came from. So what do you do now? I mean, there wasn't any fingerprints on this coke on the bag. Did they wear gloves? I mean, you look at things these days and people can find out so many ways of doing things, of finding out things. You're going to a football game. They've got the cameras all on you. Something happens at a game. They can do all that and find out where you're at. Is there a law where people sign in where they can find out, okay, well, maybe these were the possible suspects? Do you, because of that, make everybody take a lie detector? Because letting this go, and the White House supposedly is one of the safest places in the world, or the United States, and you don't know where the cocaine came from? Well, let's just say it came from the cocaine bear. So let me know if you want to hear a more in-depth story on that in a couple hours. And speaking of, our show is coming on in a couple hours. But what we're doing, we're going out to you guys, and we're giving you an opportunity to pick some of the kind of stories that you would like. I said, you can text me. It's 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. You can email me. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. We'd like to thank all of the sponsors. We'd like to thank the people who are supporting us, 23 and Us, our clothing line, and also Parker Social Media, which is my company. And what I do is I help people get promoted. So check us out. Remember, subscribe, hit like, share, let everybody know. So on the show, like I said, we try to do a bunch of different things. We have some upcoming guests coming on, and you'll finally see me interview some people. And I can't wait to get these people on to do what we do best. Speaking of best, we have some shows coming up. We did a show celebrating TV dads. And which father are you? Me, I was the John Amos, James Evan, Good Times father. When you see that episode, are you the Bob Saget Full House dad? Did you have a dad like that? Did you want to be a dad like that? Got some pretty decent views on that. Fun show, entertaining. We did a show about the 27 missing kids in Cleveland, Ohio. Not a fun show. We're doing a follow-up on that. 27 kids missing in 3 weeks. We got a show, man, poverty. It hits us everywhere. We have a show about poverty and how a lot of people are one paycheck from poverty. All these things happening now. The Supreme Court is in their heyday of doing things. Do we know the responsibility of being a judge and what it entails and having that position for life? So whatever you do, that stamp of approval will not just affect people this year, but you may be gone and it's still affecting people decades. Think of what Clarence Thomas, think of what these other judges have ruled on. Affirmative action, right to bear arms, all these recent things that have been going on, which we're going to talk about. But one thing we don't know is about these Supreme Court justices. What do we know about these guys? Are they out of the loop? Do we know off what they stand without putting together all the legal stuff? We're going to do a show. And we're going to talk about the Supreme Court justices. Don't yawn, because we may talk about things that they like to do, and you'd be surprised. And why, I guess, they are so passionate in doing it, for good or bad. We have a show coming up, the Cleveland Summit. It's dealing with Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, and Carl Stokes, who at the time wasn't a mayor. He was the first black metropolitan big city mayor. But they had the summit, and why don't they have anything like this now with LeBron James and all these other people, these other political social activists? And because right now we need social activists. But they got together and put together this Cleveland Summit. A lot of people thought it was all about unity and African American rights, but I'm going to tell you the true story of what it was about, the Cleveland Summit. One of my favorite shows I have coming up, as you can tell, I love television. I'm going to talk about the history of black television. And I'm going to talk about literally every show that was significant since TV has been around. Ooh, I know some people are doing it because they have the money. I'm doing it without the money. Hopefully you'll be entertained and you'll be educated and you'll have fun. Speaking of fun, hope you're having fun watching the show. Keeping It Real with yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander, or Keeping It Honest. I originally started with Keeping It Real, but the name was taken. So I wanted something that was honest. What do you look for, speaking of, in a politician? Do you look for honesty? You look for integrity? Do you look for he can get the job done? Some people like Donald Trump, some people didn't. Donald Trump was brash and sometimes rude, where Biden is nice and maybe negotiable. But which one of those are working for you? And especially with the things that Biden is going through now, we don't even really want to touch. One thing I don't want to touch is this grandchild, because you measure a person by who they are. And because of this, is this tarnishing Biden because of this grandchild situation? Everybody thought he was, your Uncle Joe, Cool Joe, kissing babies. Maybe people saying, well, but is he kissing his other grandchild? Would that turn you away even more from Biden? And then how do you address that, man? Talking about the elephant in the room. Everybody knows you haven't talked to that person. So if you talk to that person now, are you doing it only because of, well, the media's put it out there? Man, be who you are when nobody's looking. And if he's like this, then didn't Obama know anything about this a little bit? Not about the grandchild, but supposedly how he's mean. Is Biden getting a racket job? Because right now, nobody's really talking about Trump. It's all Biden. Bam, 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 bam. Or it's Kamala. Bam, 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 bam. And that's all they're doing for the Democratic Party. People are talking about the Green Party. People are talking about, man, They're talking about also a couple other parties that are out there. And if people go away from the Republican and Democrat Party and go to these other parties, is it going to hurt everybody's chances? We have to wait and see. So we got that maybe to talk about. Um, and that school loan, like I said, school loan is good and bad. People are taking shots at that because at first it was rejected. And I look at this as it's like me saying, you know what? You're watching this show. I promise you, you hit like, subscribe button, share it. I'm gonna give each and one of y'all a cookie. Let's say you like cookies, okay? You like cookies. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to buy a cookie. Save that dollar. I'm gonna give you a cookie. Just hit the like and subscribe button. Help us grow. And views, help us grow. And then you hit that like and subscribe, and I get to my numbers that I want, and I say, you know what? I thought I had a cookie to give you. I thought I had a cookie to give you. So you had waited for this cookie. You were anticipating this cookie. You had given me $1 for the cookie. And now, instead of using that dollar for something else, use it for the cookie. And now I tell you, I can't give you cookies. What waste. What disappointment. I like donuts. And the cookies I do I like the oatmeal and raisin cookies. So what do you do? So Biden, what he did pretty much, he said, hey, I'm going to get this done. You guys ain't got to worry about your loan. Take a break. Use that money. Buy some cookies. And then when it's time, you will have a discount. So when it was time for this to turn into a law, the Supreme Court said you can't go over the law and you can't give them the student loan break. So all those people that spent their money were like, oh my God, what I'm going to do? I believed in Biden. And this is what happened. And so now, I guess there's something that Biden has done to help people out. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So let me know if you want to see that talked about. So there's a story, which I'm going to do, but not yet. It's about Oprah. And it is a big story. Big story. I'm putting together it now just to make sure I have it correct. But Oprah, to me, when I was growing up, she was my role model. And people look at me and say, well, why Oprah? Well, why not? Because Oprah at the time, what she would do is, as she started getting rich, she would, on stage, put her arm around somebody. See if I can show my arm. Okay? And then she put up the mic and say, so what do you think? And the people, they weren't intimidated because she was a millionaire, but just because she took the time, showed the empathy, sympathy, and compassion, and said, what do you think? And put her arm around them. People fell in love with Oprah. Great talent. So when I got into broadcasting, I said, you know what? I'm going to try to do that. And even politically, I'm going to try to do that because people want to know that you care about their well-being. There's a lot of Oprah haters out now, and we're going to talk about this interesting story dealing with Oprah. So again, when you're driving and maybe possibly you get stopped by the cops for something, what's the first thing the cops do? What do they say? You have the right to remain silent. You guys know the rest. Or if you watch LA Law or Law and Order, you know the rest. But these Miranda rights, that's what they're called. Do we know how they even started, why they were called the Miranda rights? We're going to talk about that definitely because I think that's a story that you need to hear about. So you're watching again, Keeping It Honest with yours truly, Anthony Parker, the late night version, as we talk to you guys about stories that you might want to see tomorrow in a couple hours. So it's up to you guys to let me know what stories you want. Again, the writer's strike, the TV strike. Do you care? Aretha Franklin's estate, RESPECT. Clarence Thomas. Gotta do that story because you gotta see his face. Kiki Palmer, fashionista? I don't know. The one-eyed spy. The country's trying to catch him. And that's funny. And speaking of funny, at one point, Kamala, she was a serious politician, but now she's taking a hit and people want her out. Vivek, you come on the show. I like to have you on my show. Me and you will talk, and I won't pigeonhole you because for you to do what you've done, that says a lot. You may not have done a lot in school, but boy, are you making a difference in the world today. As I say, people with a lot of dollars don't have sense. Love to talk to you about that. AOC, at one point, you were committed to being that progressive. Now I think you're just a regular politician. Nikki Haley, you're a very smart lady, but you go back and forth too much, and I think that's going to hurt you. I would love to see that cocaine bear in the White House. Where's he at? Did they stop the cameras? Hmm. We'll find out. Charles Manson. I want to give you the story about him and his legion of people. I hate this when you get people to believe in what they believe and you come to them, then they will all fall in, good and bad. For example, we can say George Bush, not going to fight it, not going to fight it. Bill Clinton, I love you and thank you. Who couldn't do it was Hillary Clinton. Who did it was Obama. Obama, he did. Who didn't do it, I feel got lucky, was Joe Biden because of Senator Claiborne. Right at March, a couple years ago, Senator Claiborne, he promoted Biden, and then people went out and voted for him. Up to then, he was losing in the polls. We go crazy back. Hitler, he had a regime. He had people believe in what he believed. Stalin had a regime. Putin had a regime. Dr. King, he had a dream. Malcolm X, he had a dream too, to do his own thing and get people together. Everybody has their portion, good and bad. But like I said, if you get people to believe and get them energized that they will get something out of it, they'll follow you. For example, again, here we go. My name's Anthony Alexander, and I am running to be your next congressman. The difference between me and the person in office is that the demographics are a little bit different. And I feel, and some of the other people who have been around me have said, well, he's not talking about us. He doesn't care about us. We need somebody who will care about not just who he cares about, but put another spin, put it kind of like a Parker spin. Income, housing, low wages, medical care. Looking out for us. We need a politician that's not a politician, but is a people person that you really feel, not even sitting down having a beer, but just shaking their hand, not having an entourage, but just saying, hey, that guy said hi to me, or even returning calls. Not saying this person doesn't, but really being that person to return calls. I always say to make yourself better, put yourself out there, is just do one more thing extra than that other person. Whether it's working at a 9 to 5 job, whether it's being a politician, whether it's addressing the needs and concerns of the people out there. Am I that person that will do that? I live like you guys live. And I know a politician to be put in office by the graces of God and you guys supporting politicians is something we shouldn't laugh at. It's not a laughing matter. We have to do things to make our country better. If it doesn't affect you, that's what we look at, then you don't care. But as this country keeps going on the way that it's going, the direction that it's going, if it does not affect you now, it will affect you soon and later. And for the rest of not just your life, but the next generations. So to slow this down, to put our heads back into a rational state of mind, vote for me, Anthony Parker Alexander, for your next congressman. God bless you, and God bless America. All you have to do is get people to believe in what you believe in. Let me know if that works for you, okay? You can text me, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. And you can email yours truly, parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. We again have been doing Keeping It Honest with yours truly, Anthony Parker, letting you guys decide what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So tell your friends, okay? Hit like, hit subscribe, hit view. We are a small business that is starting to grow. As you can tell, we put a lot of work into this. Nighttime, morning, we try to get questions out there to you. We try to get you more engaged. If you have any comments, criticisms, advice, give it to yours truly. Let yours truly know, hey, Anthony, you know what? We would like you to talk about that. And then I will talk about that. Go to my Patreon page too. Go to the more info. Go to that page. That page is for people that say, hey, you know what? We don't mind supporting Anthony. He's doing a lot of work. He's trying to get the word out there. Mainstream media, as I found out, is not the same mainstream media when I was involved. One talks one way, one talks the other way, and one just doesn't talk. At least on streaming, we get both sides of the story, all sides, depending on your preference of shows that you like. But make sure you like the show. Let's make this grow. Let's make this continue to grow. Let me know if you like our nighttime version because we're very relaxed. We're drinking some tea. Where in the daytime, you will see, that we try to really put on an aggressive show, but an aggressive show that tries to get answers and questions out there to you. So I am Anthony Parker Alexander, and tune in for our show, our daytime show coming up in a couple hours as we talk about some of these subjects. And I thank you for watching the show. I thank you in replay. If you're seeing this in replay mode, make some comments. You can contact me anywhere and support the show. Keep your head up. Always believe in yourself, and therein will lie your answer. If you can't keep keeping it honest in the daytime, by all means, keep it in the dark. I am Anthony Parker Alexander. God bless.